Today I want to take you on a journey, one that delves deep into the complexities of family, love, and everything in between. My name is Liam, and as I share my story, I hope to shed light on the intricate web of relationships that intertwine my life with that of my stepsister Chloe. This is a tale of rivalry, betrayal, and ultimately resilience. I still remember the first time I met Chloe. It was an ordinary afternoon in late summer, the kind where laughter echoed through the neighborhood. I was 9 years old, an introspective child who found solace in the pages of my favorite books. At that tender age, I was more of an observer than a participant in the grand spectacle of life unfolding around me. Chloe, on the other hand, was the shining star, brimming with confidence, effortlessly capturing the attention of everyone in the room. She was outgoing, funny, and bold, characteristics I often admired from a distance. Our initial encounters were polite, a necessary formality, as our parents were still in the throes of falling in love. 3 years later, when I was 12 and Chloe 11, life took a significant turn. Our parents decided to marry, merging our lives into one shared household. Initially, the idea of having a step-sibling seemed like an adventure to me. Perhaps we would grow to become best friends, sharing secrets and childhood dreams. However, in practice, it turned out to be a delicate dance of competing for attention. In my family dynamic, my father had always been an elusive figure, a distant presence who floated in and out of my life. My mother, a single parent, had held everything together with unwavering resolve. Chloe's situation was markedly different. She had lost her mother at a young age, a tragedy that left scars deep inside her heart. Her father remarried quickly, seeking companionship, but this left Chloe with a lingering feeling of loss, a void she desperately sought to fill, often through validation from others. In a strange way, it was almost as if we were both searching for something we believed we were missing. In those early years, as the two of us adjusted to our blended family, I could sense a subtle competition brewing. We were both vying for our parents' attention and approval, tugging at their affection like children desperately clutching a loved toy. It was not overt, perhaps it was more of a whispered undercurrent between us, but it quietly thrived in the spaces where love and disappointment intersected. Chloe would make grand gestures, charming our parents with her charm, while I found myself retreating into the shadows, often feeling invisible. Despite this competitive edge, there were moments of fleeting connection. We would go on family outings, and amidst the chaos of shared experiences, laughter would occasionally break through the tension. Those moments felt like an escape, a reminder that beneath the competition, a bond existed. We shared a home, a roof that sheltered us, and a set of parents who were doing their best to forge a united family. However, the cracks began to seep deeper as we navigated the awkward transition into adolescence. As we headed into high school, things shifted significantly. Navigating the complexities of growing up brought a new level of intensity to our relationship. Questions loomed over us. Was our shared identity as step-siblings a blessing or a curse? Were we friends? Or did we exist in this subtle battlefield of rivalry? Each day brought uncertainty, and with each day the stakes seemed to climb even higher. Looking back, I realized that those early years shaped the course of our lives in ways we could never have anticipated. I became aware of not only my own desires for acceptance and love, but also Chloe's unyielding need for validation. Our struggles were distinct, yet somehow intertwined, and as we barreled into high school, we would be faced with challenges that would truly test the foundation of our connection. This is only the beginning of our story, the prologue to a tale rife with twists and turns, emotions that ebbed and flowed, and ultimately, the irony of love and betrayal that would soon emerge. In the end, it was the experiences we went through as children, the pain and the laughter, that would set the stage for the turmoil that lay ahead. And believe me, it was a storm that neither of us could have predicted. Ethan was new to our suburban town in North Carolina, a fresh face amidst a sea of familiar faces. It was the early 2010s, a time characterized by the awkwardness of teenage years and the quest for identity. I remember the first day he stepped into the halls of our high school. He carried an air of confidence about him, balanced with an easygoing charm that drew everyone in. He had this effortless way of engaging with people, making him instantly likable. I often marveled at how effortlessly he seemed to glide through social settings, while I struggled to find my footing amid the chaos of teenage angst. Chloe and I both found ourselves captivated by him, though not in the same way. While I was silently intrigued by Ethan's charisma, Chloe's pursuit was far more aggressive. It became abundantly clear that she did not merely seek his friendship. She wanted his affection, and she was willing to stride over anyone in her way, even if that meant crossing boundaries with her own step-sibling. I still vividly recall the atmosphere at home, shifting after he arrived, as if the entire household had been placed under an electrifying charge. We did not establish any verbal pact, But there was an unspoken agreement between Chloe and me regarding the new dynamics of our friendship and dating lives. We both needed our spaces, our territories respected. After all, the high school social landscape can be akin to a delicate ecosystem where the wrong moves can spiral into chaos. Thus, I naively believed that this would extend to Ethan as well, that we would troop into adolescence together, albeit on our predetermined paths, without stepping on each other's toes. Unfortunately, it became evident that this sentiment was only skin deep. As weeks rolled into months, subtle shifts appeared in Chloe's behavior, and soon, I became acutely aware of a troubling pattern. I noticed the way she would seem to casually forget my presence during group outings, deliberately omitting invitations that included Ethan. While I often retreated into my shell, Chloe flaunted her sociability, and I felt invisible. It was as if she was drafting an unspoken playbook on how to showcase the best version of herself, leaving me seemingly out of the picture. The irony was painful. I had once envied her confidence and charisma, yet now I recognized it for what it truly was, a competitive edge sharpened by jealousy. Then came the fateful evening when everything fell apart. I accidentally stumbled upon a message on Chloe's old laptop while looking for a forgotten document. As I read her words, a sinking feeling settled in my stomach. She had been passionately outlining her plan to win over Ethan, intricately detailing her efforts to eliminate what she called the competition. It was clear that her feelings for him extended beyond innocent admiration. She had every intention of ruthlessly pursuing him, regardless of the toll it would take on our already fragile sibling relationship. It took days of turmoil for me to muster the courage to confront Ethan. I was sick to my stomach, grappling with the weight of Chloe's deception. When I finally did summon the strength to talk to him, he was forthright and sincere. His honesty immediately disarmed my anxiety. Ethan confirmed my worst fears. Chloe had been dominating the social scene, sending him flurries of messages, enticing him to exclusive gatherings, and even fabricating ludicrous stories about my personal life. As I listened to him, his words reverberated in my ears. "I thought you and Chloe were a thing." My pulse quickened, my heart raced. Ethan's confession shed light on Chloe's relentless pursuit, leaving me in a state of turmoil as he shared his initial impressions of me, the respect he had quietly fostered beneath the surface of our friendship. My feelings began to shift from mere panic to something more profound. I realized just how deep my own feelings for Ethan ran. He was not just another boy in our small social circle. He represented something I craved: validation, connection, and an affectionate bond that transcended the mere titles of step-sibling and friend. I confronted Chloe shortly afterward, my emotions spiraling into a chaotic whirlwind. The confrontation was explosive. Chloe's composed outer shell shattered, and she lashed out in anger and defensiveness. I faced her accusations of jealousy and selfishness, her facade crumbling under the weight of her guilt. This was not just a disagreement over a crush. This represented a permanent fracture in our already delicate sibling bond. Finally, I had to make a choice that would impact both our lives irrevocably. Faced with Chloe's ruthlessness and my growing affection for Ethan, I chose my own path. I decided to pursue a relationship with him, but I was acutely aware of the fractures it would create. Through this whirlwind of emotions, I learned an important lesson: when faced with a struggle for love and affection, one must make tough choices, even at the cost of familial bonds. As I look back, I realize this was not merely a turning point in our high school years. It set the course for a dramatic evolution, not just for me and Chloe, but for all three of us. The web of rivalry, emotion, and confusion would lead us into a complex realm of relationships, where love and betrayal would soon intertwine in ways that none of us could have anticipated. Prepare yourselves, for this story is only starting to unfold, and the ensuing chaos would change everything. Following the tumultuous events of our high school years, which were overshadowed by rivalry and betrayal, I entered a phase that would further complicate our already fractured relationship. This period saw the dawn of college, a time often portrayed as a fresh start and an opportunity for self-discovery. However, for Chloe and me, it became another stage where tension played out in subtle but profound ways. After graduating high school, I made the decision to attend a state university in North Carolina, and to my surprise, Ethan would join me as he pursued a degree in software engineering. We became a support system for each other, building a relationship grounded in mutual interests and respect. Our shared experiences allowed us to grow closer, even while navigating the complexities of our past with Chloe. Meanwhile, Chloe chose to attend a prestigious university across the country, majoring in marketing. The distance seemed to provide a temporary reprieve for me from the weight of her presence, a chance to reset and focus on my burgeoning relationship with Ethan. However, it was impossible to sever the familial ties that bound me to Chloe. nor could I fully ignore the ramifications of our shared past. While I leaned into the freedom that college offered, exploring new friendships, opportunities, and my passion for graphic design, Chloe continued to occupy a mental space that I could not entirely escape. Our interactions had transformed, but the undercurrents of unresolved rivalry and resentment remained. Upon her return during university breaks, I noticed a peculiar dynamic settling in. Our encounters at family gatherings felt like rehearsed performances, marked by a facade that barely concealed the underlying discomfort. We exchanged brief, polite pleasantries, moving through our conversations with the dexterity of skilled actors. It was as if we both understood the unspoken rules. Propriety masked the hurt. On the outside, we displayed a semblance of civility, yet the warmth and familiarity of our childhood bond felt like a distant memory. In our respective arenas, both Ethan and I found grounding. I pursued my passion for graphic design, pouring my energy and creativity into establishing my career. Ethan thrived in his field, his innate talent for software engineering blossoming. Yet despite the growth and joy these individual pursuits brought us, the unresolved tension lurked just below the surface whenever we were together as a family. Chloe's visits home were often marked by a sense of unease, a stark reminder of the emotional web we had woven together over the years. As milestones came and went, graduations, birthdays, and family holidays, the interactions became increasingly strained. I would often catch moments where Chloe's smile faltered, revealing the cracks in her polished exterior. Despite her apparent success academically and socially, I thought I noticed shades of the insecurities she harbored during our formative years. However, I dared not broach the subject. Each instance of vulnerability felt like an intricate chess match too delicate to disturb. With the passing years, the silent rules governing our interactions tightened. We both wore our coats of armor, effectively shielding our emotions from the possibility of another confrontation. Whenever we found ourselves in the same room, conversations revolved around safe topics, work, school, or trivial family updates, while deeper personal matters remained notably absent. Despite all this, there were hints of wariness between us that could not be easily dismissed. I heard whispers of Chloe's frustrations through family members, tinged with sympathy for her plight, a wife in waiting to a robust career in marketing. The narrative that unfolded among relatives often cast her as the victim of my decisions, subtly implying that I had not only disrupted our family dynamics, but had somehow wronged her life. Yet, even amidst the chaos of our familial connections, Liam and Ethan's relationship flourished. We navigated our lives hand in hand, grounded by love and the shared commitment to overcome the complexities that each of us brought into this union. I often found solace in the comfort of Ethan's unwavering support. However, I would be remiss to ignore the lingering effects of Chloe's actions. Her attempts to manipulate our relationship were not lost on me, and it served as a constant reminder of the complexities regarding family ties and loyalty. As graduation approached, a sense of inevitability filled the air. Stepping into adulthood felt both liberating and daunting, and the curtain of civility we had managed to draw would soon be put to the test. The looming presence of unresolved feelings, jealousy, and a past steeped in betrayal hung firmly over us, preparing for the next act of this intricate drama. In that moment, I began to realize that the journey towards healing would not be as straightforward as I had hoped. Are we capable of forgiveness when betrayal runs so deeply? That was the question lurking in the shadows, waiting for the right moment to reveal itself. So, stay tuned as this story continues to unfold amidst a whirlwind of emotions and unexpected revelations. I remember the day vividly. I was at a sleek coffee shop in downtown, getting lost in my thoughts as I crafted ideas for my next graphic design project. My phone buzzed with a notification, a simple text from Chloe. "Hey, just wanted to let you know I am engaged." The words cut through my concentration like a knife. My heart sank, but I quickly masked it with a practiced indifferent smile as I typed my response. "Congratulations." While I feigned happiness, deep down I felt an undercurrent of anxiety wash over me. Chloe's engagement to Julian, a fellow marketing professional she had been dating for over 2 years, felt like a grand performance, an elaborate display that served to distract from the unresolved issues that still loomed large between us. I anticipated a wave of pretentiousness surrounding the wedding planning process, filled with obligatory family gatherings that would force us into the same space once again. Months passed, and the wedding date crept closer. Each time we convened for family dinners or gatherings, I was acutely aware of the strained politeness in our exchanges, the kind that feels more like choreographed moves than genuine interactions. At one point, during a particularly awkward family gathering, Chloe made an offhanded comment about how wonderful it would be to have my wedding photograph hanging alongside hers. At this, I could only muster a tight-lipped smile, knowing how that simple statement concealed a deeper bitterness just beneath the surface. As the date approached, The facade of congeniality continued to crack. Chloe, perhaps in a twisted attempt to demonstrate her maturity, made a deliberate effort to approach me during family functions and engage in conversations that meticulously skirted the iceberg of our shared history. On one memorable evening, she cornered me in the kitchen, flashing a bright smile that felt rehearsed. "Have you given any thought to when you and Ethan will tie the knot? Something intimate, I presume. Or are you going for a big event?" she asked, and I could hardly ignore the faux sweetness lacing her words. "Oh, we are just enjoying our time together for now. Planning takes time," I replied, my voice steady yet distant. Her eyes locked onto mine for a split second, as if searching for weakness before she promptly looked away. I felt a rush of pity for her, trapped behind the facade she so desperately maintained. It was clear she was struggling to deal with her own insecurities and sense of inadequacy. But my pity faded quickly, replaced by the ache of having to endure her manipulative presence that seemed to loom larger every passing day. At Chloe's engagement party, held at a lavish banquet hall, the atmosphere was teeming with cheerful music, laughter, and the kind of forced gaiety that only accentuated the undercurrents of our familial discord. As guests milled about, some from Chloe's work, and others from various corners of our family's sprawling social circle, I maintained a rigid smile, offering polite conversation with anyone but her. I made an effort to celebrate her engagement, standing awkwardly in the line for photographs. As Chloe posed with Julian, she made sure to throw a pointed glance my way, her expression an unsettling blend of triumph and something darker. This was her moment, a moment that should have been filled with love and excitement, yet here we were, two unwilling actors in a play neither of us had signed up for. But it was during the reception, amidst clinking glasses and the faint sounds of laughter, that Chloe's hidden bitterness bubbled to the surface. She approached Ethan and me, her grin widening unnaturally against the festive backdrop. "Imagine if I had invited you both separately. Would you still be acting like a couple? Must feel awkward, knowing you could just be friends." The comment cut deep, and the room momentarily fell silent. The air was charged with unspoken tension. I wanted to scream at her, to shake her and yell that I saw through her thinly veiled attempts at mockery. However, I also understood that biting back would only fuel the fire between us. Ethan, with his innate ability to diffuse situations, placed a gentle hand on my shoulder. "Let's find our seat, Liam," he suggested, guiding me away from the escalating confrontation. I felt a wave of gratitude wash over me, knowing that Ethan understood the complexities of my relationship with Chloe far better than anyone else. As we settled into our seats, I could feel her piercing gaze occasionally darting our way. I silently resolved that my next move needed to involve strategizing how to tackle the families we would be merging. Perhaps stating the truth when it came to Chloe and her manipulative tendencies was warranted. Yet I also felt the weight of a tug-of-war, balancing the desire for familial connection against the backdrop of rivalry and resentment that had all but consumed our childhood. The evening ended, but the smile on Chloe's face remained woven tightly with an underlying animosity, a mask she would wear for the foreseeable future. Beneath the surface of her flawless wedding plans and sparkling engagement ring, I could see the cracks. Her desperation for validation hung over her like a dark cloud. Little did we know, this facade of peace would soon be tested in ways we could not yet imagine. As I stood in front of the mirror, meticulously adjusting my tie for the most important day of my life, the weight of Chloe's unexpected arrival at my wedding venue loomed over me like an ominous cloud. The historic barn in rural North Carolina was adorned with fairy lights, flowers, and a celebratory atmosphere. Yet my heart raced with an anxiety that threatened to overshadow the joy of marrying Ethan. 3 days early, Chloe and Julian appeared with excuses about flight cancellations that felt too rehearsed, too convenient, as if Chloe had orchestrated her arrival to interject herself into a moment she had long coveted. I recalled our past, the tension that bubbled beneath the surface, especially since the fallout of our sibling confrontation years ago. It was clear that Chloe's unresolved feelings regarding Ethan and her anger towards me had never truly dissipated. Despite attempting to move forward, I sensed that her jealousy still festered, and her arrival felt like a dark harbinger of something ugly brewing just beneath the surface. As the minutes ticked down, I brushed off calls from my instincts that warned me something was amiss. I focused on the love that had flourished between Ethan and me, the strength of our commitment to each other, yet the unsettling echo of Chloe's manipulative tactics hung in my mind as I donned my suit. What if today was not merely a celebration but a battleground? I could not shake the feeling that Chloe had inserted herself here with a plan, and that plan was about to unfold in ways I could not foresee. Just 1 hour before the ceremony, as Ethan and I prepared for our exchange of vows, Chloe caught me alone in a quiet corner of the venue. She approached me with a forced expression of concern, her voice dripping with insincerity, as if she had rehearsed this moment. "I need to talk to you, Liam. It is important." I could feel my heart racing, an intuition that whatever she had to say would not be rooted in brotherly love, but in the poison of her jealousy. "Chloe, I do not have time for this right now. Ethan and I are getting married soon. We can talk later," I replied, hoping to brush her off. But she was relentless. With a faux sympathetic gaze, she leaned closer and lowered her voice to a conspiratorial whisper. "Ethan has been having cold feet. I do not think he is truly in love with you anymore. He told me he is considering running away with me. I felt you should know." The world momentarily froze around me. The disbelief washed over me like a tidal wave. I had known Chloe was manipulative. But this was an unprecedented level of betrayal. My mind raced. How could she even think for a moment that her words would carry any weight? But the sheer audacity of it left me momentarily speechless. I took a deep breath, steadying myself, and reminding myself of the unwavering love and trust Ethan and I had built over the years. I knew what she was saying was ridiculous. "Chloe, you are lying. Ethan loves me deeply. You are attempting to sabotage this wedding again, aren't you?" A flicker of something dark crossed Chloe's features, revealing the rage and desperation bubbling beneath her cool facade. "You do not know him like I do. Do not fool yourself, Liam. I care truly, but I also need you to see the truth. It is time for you to step aside." At that moment, everything crystallized within me. I recognized her for what she truly was, a deeply insecure individual haunted by her past, desperately seeking validation in the cracks of her family's emotional foundation. That realization gave me strength. As a final act, I subtly activated my phone's voice recorder, ensuring that her manipulative words were documented. I feigned shock, expressing disbelief, as I asked her to repeat some of her more outlandish claims, giving the recording the clarity I needed to expose her ruse later, should the need arise. "I am going to find Ethan," I said firmly, my voice steady even though my heart raced. I left Chloe standing there, a perfect tableau of her own making, trapped within her tangled web of deception. I made my way through the bustling venue in a rush of determination, knowing I had to find Ethan before it was too late. As I approached the space where Ethan was finishing some last-minute arrangements, I felt the palpable connection between us draw closer. I needed him to know my unwavering trust in him, even though several attempts had been made to fracture our bond. "When you look into my eyes today, know that my heart is yours," I whispered softly as I found him among the group of groomsmen. "No one can come between what we have." Suddenly, tinged with anger and urgency, I shared Chloe's deceitful words and the tactics I suspected she would employ. Ethan's eyes widened with a mix of concern and understanding. "I know you, and I know Chloe. You trust in our love, as I trust in you," he replied, pulling me close and enveloping me in a warm embrace. In the chaos of that moment, I chose resilience over despair. I reminded myself that Chloe's influence could not touch the profound connection I had with Ethan. This day would be a celebration of love, a moment transcending the bitterness of past events, no matter how turbulent. As I regained my composure, I understood once more that today was not simply a marriage on paper, it was a declaration of freedom from Chloe's shadows. While I was not naive enough to believe the turbulent chapter of our family dynamics was entirely over, I felt more prepared to face whatever may come next. With the ceremony moments away, the energy shifted from anxious uncertainty to pure excitement. Today would mark the beginning of a new story, my story with Ethan, and I was ready to write the next chapter. Thank you for joining me on this emotional journey through the complexities of family dynamics, betrayal, and love. If you felt connected to this story in any way, I invite you to leave a comment below sharing your thoughts and experiences. Have you faced similar challenges in your relationships? Your stories matter and could help others feel less alone. If you enjoyed this video, please consider subscribing and hitting the notification bell so you do not miss the next installment of this saga. Your support makes all the difference, and I look forward to sharing more about love, resilience, and the power of choice in our lives. Until next time, remember that every ending is merely a new beginning. Take care and see you in the next video.